Hi everyone, my name is Morgan Pincombe and I'm a senior at William & Mary. I'm pleased to share my research on China's exploitative fishing in the Gulf of Guinea. At the height of China's century of humiliation, Prince Gong of China protested Western imperialism, saying, quote, "The barbarians take advantage of our weak position and try to control us," end quote. Today, China is signing unequal contracts for fishing access and ports in the Gulf of Guinea, the body of water bordering the 20 coastal countries of West and Central Africa, from Mauritania to Angola. China is capitalizing on Gulf of Guinea countries' weak bargaining power and enforcement capabilities, leading to resource exploitation, illegal fishing, and the potential for Chinese power projection. These unequal contracts create an opportunity for the United States to address China's neocolonialism and mitigate humanitarian risks. Beijing relied on improving its international legal capacity, a method it called self-strengthening, when combating the unequal treaties of Western imperialism between 1839 and 1949. The United States can use China's historical tactics against it by providing legal support to Gulf of Guinea countries negotiating with China. China is carrying out a series of land and maritime investments through its Belt and Road Initiative, seeking to reestablish the global commercial dominance it lost during the century of humiliation. Although these BRI projects provide critical infrastructure and economic growth for partner countries, BRI projects pose three significant risks. First, African BRI partners often take on unsustainable and inflated debt. Second, this unsustainable debt can give China increasing economic and political leverage over BRI partners. Third, China's approach to development fuels corruption by financially and politically rewarding senior African leaders. Despite these risks, the majority of Africans perceive China as a positive development partner, especially due to their common history of colonization by the West. Chinese leaders promote the BRI as a win-win development blueprint built on sincere friendship, unity, and cooperation. China has expanded its distant water fishing industry through the BRI in order to service increasing demand for fish and fish meal. Chinese companies offer development finance and infrastructure in line with the BRI spirit in exchange for access to West and Central African fishing grounds, where the second and third most productive marine ecosystems in the world are found. However, China ranks as the worst offender of illegal, unreported, and unregulated fishing. The Chinese fleet underreports its catch and fleet size and catches around 40% of its fish illegally. As a facet of its distant water fishing industry, port construction, especially in West Africa, has also been a priority of the BRI. The Gulf of Guinea hosts many Chinese-supported ports and some of China's fishing bases, which include fishing ports, processing plants, and logistics facilities. Gulf of Guinea countries partner with China because fishing access provides critical revenue and ports improve trade. However, deficient regulation, weak enforcement, and corruption make Gulf of Guinea countries particularly susceptible to exploitative fishing practices. IUU fishing and overfishing leads to an annual loss of revenue for West Africa of between $1.3 and $2.3 billion. Contradicting China's rhetoric about mutually beneficial cooperation, China compensates Gulf of Guinea countries only 4% of the value of the fish it extracts. Chinese port investments are also often overvalued and entail unfavorable lending terms. Through these unequal contracts, China is imposing a century of humiliation on Gulf of Guinea countries. Addressing China's neocolonialism in the Gulf of Guinea presents the United States with three opportunities. First, the United States can mitigate economic and social destabilization in an already fragile region by combating the exploitation of marine resources in the Gulf of Guinea. The majority of fish in the Gulf of Guinea are threatened, nearly to extinction. Depleted fish stocks heighten the risk of employment and food insecurity in the region, with many depending on fish for their food and livelihoods. Second, the United States can manage the expansion of China's political influence in the region by shaping Gulf of Guinea countries' participation in the BRI. The proliferation of dual-use ports and the strengthening of a loyal support base among African leaders positions China to extend its power projection in the future. Finally, developing a legal cooperation intervention in Gulf of Guinea fisheries would provide a low-cost, low-risk proof of concept that could be used as a model to counter Chinese neocolonialism in more strategic, higher-cost regions and industries. The United States can adopt China's own method of self-strengthening from its century of humiliation to help partners in the Gulf of Guinea overcome China's exploitation. Viable partners for this legal intervention can initially be selected based on countries' low corruption and high transparency ratings to improve the success of this intervention. In addition, the United States can conduct local public relations campaigns that garner support for legal coordination and improve the outcomes of negotiations. The United States can bring China to the negotiating table by employing the rhetoric of the century of humiliation. Conducting technical assessments will inform legal bodies of the value of maritime resources in the Gulf of Guinea, which is crucial for contract negotiations. During negotiations, legal advisors can focus on shaping contract terms, including pushing for transparency, imposing landing clauses, regulating transshipments, and encouraging payment in tangible assets. After the negotiation, ongoing legal capacity initiatives will help Gulf of Guinea countries effectively enforce contracts and manage resources. U.S. legal cooperation with Gulf of Guinea countries is a model for fighting Chinese predatory practices globally. After developing a legal cooperation intervention in Gulf of Guinea fisheries, the United States can apply this model in other key regions, resource sectors, and infrastructure projects. Addressing the weak negotiating power of low and middle income countries combats exploitative, neocolonial development practices. U.S. legal cooperation could help prevent further destabilization in an already fragile region, while also enabling Gulf of Guinea countries and the United States to capture the greatest benefit from Chinese development investment. Thank you.